Welcome to ASQ TV, where we're creating a global view of quality. In this episode, we explore the definition of big data and how it should and should not be used, how an insurance company mined its data and reduced costs, 4 data analysis basics, and how to avoid survey overload. You've probably heard the popular term big data, referring to large and complex data sets that go beyond traditional data processing tools. But with big data comes big challenges. For example, how and when should you collect or analyze big data? Statistics professor Jeff Vining urges caution in relying on big data.
There are people claiming with big data we can solve all problems. And my experience with it is that big data often doesn't solve any problem. Being passive and looking at big data often can pose interesting questions. It's often very good for exploring a problem, even before you even have concrete questions. It can provide a wonderful basis for coming up with things for further exploration. But I've spent a career trying to be very efficient with data. I can come up with techniques that once we have these questions, that the big data may be the only way to suggest the question. Often I can once I've got that question, once I understand it with some clarity, I can find faster and better ways to confirm what the answer is.
Vining says there are practical uses of big data. It can be a helpful inspection tool in manufacturing. For example, it's possible to inspect images for potential defects in very large batches of products.
Now we have the equipment that we can get an image for basic parts manufacturing. And how can we use that image to effectively inspect the product completely automatically? The techniques that we would be using for this borrow from image analysis used in biomedical, looking at MRIs. Now that we're beginning to develop things like how to do formal statistical tests on images, well, I've got colleagues who know how to convert that into something like a control chart, which would then allow us to really take full advantage of the big data, the image data. And I'm excited about this because this is different than most uses of big data.
Change doesn't come through data collection. The goal is to analyze your data for insights on how to do something better or smarter. Nationwide Insurance did just that in deciding which homes to inspect. The company routinely inspects its customers' houses to ensure homes are properly insured and are in satisfactory condition. Home inspections that don't result in any issues being identified were costing the company $1.5 million per year. It's too risky to inspect no homes, but too costly to inspect every one. The company found the sweet spot between the two extremes by mining the years of data they already had. From construction year and type of each home to protection class, the amount of insurance purchased, and the customer's claims history, Nationwide was able to predict which properties would be most beneficial to inspect by examining 2 data sets from 2 different data warehouses and using Six Sigma's define, measure, analyze, improve, and control process for the project. The company reduced the number of unneeded inspections by almost 47%, and its rate of identifying hazardous conditions in homes increased by more than 185%. And that's one way to turn big data into smart action. Read the whole story at the link below. It's easy to run into challenges if you're tasked with collecting and analyzing a big data set. A recent Quality Progress article lists 4 data analysis basics to consider when acquiring and making sense of your data. The first is data quality. Be mindful if combining data from multiple sources. Pay attention to missing data and be aware of how the survey or experiment used to collect the data was designed. Design will affect the correlation or lack thereof in your data. The second is subject matter knowledge. Don't interpret data out of context. Start by learning about the department or process that produced the data. Context will help you properly analyze data and develop and implement the right decisions. Third, use a sequential approach. One study or analysis will rarely answer your questions and may in fact lead to more questions. You might have to collect and study multiple data sets. Realize that data collection and analysis is an ongoing, open-ended process. Finally, have a strategy in place. Strategy determines which questions you aim to answer with your data and why they're a priority for the organization. Your strategy should encompass a sense of urgency, the support and involvement of leaders, a project vision, a communication plan, and training for those involved. Read the entire article at the link below. Organizations often get customer data from surveys, but according to Quality Progress author Derek Purdy, in the arms of race for big data, survey mania can sometimes take over. Besides wanting to know our gender, age, and location, surveys will ask about the lighting in a store and even whether it was fun to shop there. So be smart about what you ask your customers and when. I mean, do I really need a receipt this long asking me to fill out an online survey? You don't need big data to tell you that answer. For more on survey overload, see the link below. And as usual, thanks for joining us for this episode of ASQ TV. Next time, we'll talk about quality in athletics.